Hello friends, greetings of the day. This is Rajiv Zune, Assistant Professor of Communication Skills at Shri Vilepalli Kelwani Mandal's Institute of Pharmacy, Dhule, Maharashtra. Friends, thank you for your likes and subscribing my YouTube channel, watching my videos on communication skills and giving your support virtually. So friends, after your advice and suggestion and support, here I am interacting with you on interview skills. In fact, this is what the second part of interview skills. In my earlier video, in first part of interview skills, we talked about the terminology, the concept of interview, how to appear for interview, commonly, generally, what kinds of questions, the fact can be asked over there, what are the different types of interview, and the role of non-verbals, along with your appearance, gesture, posture, eye contact, space, each and everything. We also talked about your cognitive abilities, your attitudinal analysis, and your psychomotor skills. I told you that the success of interview lies in what kind of knowledge you have, what kind of behavior, attitude you have, and what kind of skills, soft skills and hard skills you have gained. And the most important thing is what, as I used another acronym, that is KASH. K stands for knowledge, A stands for attitude, S stands for skills, and H stands for your habits. Friends, if you are honest, if you are sincere, if you are dedicated towards your task, then definitely you can inculcate winning habits, and that winning habits bestows you success in every kind of interview. So friends, as I said in my last video on interview skills, our focus must be on selection kind of interview, selection type of interview. And here we are exploring detail about what kind of interviewing techniques are there, what kind of interviewing methods are there. So friends, let's move ahead. At the outset, let me disclaim that this video is solely for educational purpose and there is not any commercial motive behind it. The content and the images of this presentation are taken from diverse resources which are duly acknowledged in the references at last. So friends, when we are talking about the styles of interview, generally two styles of interviews are there. First one, that is traditional job interview or TJI acronym, and another is behavioral job interview, that is BJI. Friends, don't forget that word, buzzword, which I told in my last video on interview skill. And what is that buzzword? CAP, wherein C stands for your cognitive abilities, that is what the information knowledge you have. A stands for your attitude, your behavior, and P stands for your psychomotor skills, because these three dimensions of your personality are the most important one: your knowledge, your behavior, and your skills. On that line, on that analysis only, we are going to examine interview in detail. When we are talking about these major two styles, that is TJI and BJI, friends, TJI seeks whether the interviewee, means as a learner, you possess enthusiasm or work ethics. Since you are young blood, enthusiasm can be there. But what about work ethics? Means whenever we are studying, we are not talking about the values. We are not talking about moral ethics, values. These things we have placed somewhere else. Because in this cat race, what we want success by hook or by crook. But in fact, employer, recruiter looks for what kind of values, work ethics, moral system you have. So friend, you have to think on this point also, whether you sought to answer whether the interviewee has acquired enough skills, abilities and knowledge. That is what the gist of TJI, traditional job interview. Suppose that if you are appearing for the interview, then the prime purpose of interviewer is what? To see whether required skills, whether you have or not. Job required skills, whether you have acquired or not, and the abilities and the knowledge you have or not. Because this is what you are going to utilize over there in your job. And friends, the success of your interview depends on what? Your ability to communicate. In what way you are communicating during that 15 minutes, 20 minutes or 30 minutes max to max. Then on the truthfulness of your content of answers. That is what the premise of your traditional job interview. Friends, traditional job interview always works on the premise that your behavior is not important. What is important? Your experience is important. So friends, go ahead and see. TJI asks, why do you want to work for this company? This kind of question is the part of TJI, traditional job interview. Tell me about your strengths or weaknesses. When we are talking about the SWOT analysis, as I said, SWOT stands for, yes, your strengths. What are your strengths? W, your weaknesses. This is generally what we say, I don't have any weakness, but in fact it can't be true. Since we are humans, we are bound with weakness. And when you are exploring your weakness, you should explore in such a way that that weakness in long term should be very, very triple. In that way, you have to tell about your weakness. That, opportunities, how you are catchy, how you can hold the opportunities which are available in your job. And last T of SMART stands for what? Threats. How you are cautious, watchful about the threats which are potential in your job. So your strength analysis, examination of your personality can be there in TJI. So friends, in detail we talked about the TJI, that is traditional job interview, wherein your experience, your past experience is the most important one. Because as I said earlier, TJI premises what? The assumption of the TJI is what kind of experience in the past you had, and what kind of response you had for that experience. Same kind of response you can have in future when the same kind of situation arises in your work situation. So TJI premises or assumes that your past experience either enhances or blocks your future performance. Understand? Okay. Thank you, friends. Let's move exploring BJI. That is behavioral job interview, wherein your behavior is the most important thing. Friends, here is what? See the adage. Past performance is the best indicator of your future behavior. That is what behavioral job interview. Your behavior. Probe specific questions to explore the aspect of situation. Means in what situation you were involved. That can be fathomed, that can be gauged, showing such kind of questions. Tell me when you confronted an unexpected situation of several projects and how you cope up with them and how you came out of them. And such kind of questions can be thrown to you, and there your communication abilities work wonders. College students, graduates without any experience or little experience, they should focus on what? Class projects. Instead of saying that I don't have any experience working on projects, you can concentrate on class projects and you can explore group situations wherein you were involved during your student tenureship. Friends, always cultivate the habit of analyzing, describing situations, because the The purpose of interviewer is what? To see, to evaluate, to assess in what kind of interview you were there, in what kind of situation you were there in your past, and how you cope up that situation, and how you came out of that situation, and what was your learning, what was your lesson. Because lesson is important, because that lesson indicates what kind of attitude you have, whether positive or whether negative, whether neutral. Relate your positive outcomes, and whatever outcomes you had over there, how you relate or how you make them relevant to today's situation. Specify what action you have learned, as I said earlier. While answering, friends, you have to concentrate on what? Discuss the action you took, whether to monitor and to control the situation, because your decision, your judgment, your action-oriented communication, these are the most important aspect when it comes to analysis of your personality. Friends, as I said, BJI premises the accurate predictor of your future behavior is the past experience in the similar situation. As I said earlier, what kind of experience you had in the past in particular situation, and what kind of reply you had to that situation in your past, same can be reflected in future, provided the same situation you got involved. Same reply can be there. Understanding how to excel in interview is the crucial job hunting skill. And friends, if you remember these two techniques, that is behavioral job interview and traditional job interview, then definitely your success can be there. TJI is only 10% predictive. Why? Now TJI is obsolete. Why TJI is outdated in modern context? Why it is not relevant? Because it is predictor of only 10%. Whereas BJI, that is behavioral job interview, is predictor of more than 55%. So nowadays in modern context, the interviewer focuses on what kind of style? Behavioral job interview style. So friends, if you analyze this style, if you orient yourself towards BJI, definitely you can be productive, you can be successful, you can be constructive during your interview. Friends, while answering, always do remember the focus of BJI is to evaluate experiences and behavior to determine the potential of the success. So whenever you are talking about BJI, always do keep in mind that the aim of BJI is what? To determine your potential. Through these styles, the interviewer identifies job-related experience, knowledge, skills, and abilities. BJI is touted as the provider of the most objective data of facts to make employment decisions. So friends, when we are talking about these two styles or methods, we need to talk about the characteristics. When you are answering during the interview, your answering should focus on situation and task problem. You should analyze the situation, you should analyze the problem wherein you were involved, and what action you took on that situation, and what is the result of your action, and what are the outcomes, and what is your lesson. Friends, take examples from your past experience, your internship, your projects, activities, your team participation, your community services, and your hobbies. Friends, your hobbies are also very significant, because more than 10% of time of interview can be spent on your hobbies, because your character, what kind of culture you have, that can be explored through your hobbies. So be careful about your hobbies. Open-ended questions are structured for positive answers. As I said, forget the technique of giving answers only in yes or no. You have to analyze your answers in detail, the situations, of your answers in detail, to evaluate candidates' experience, behavior, and to determine the potential of the success. Open-ended questions. Okay? So friends, you have what recruiter looks for. Now so far we have discussed in what way you are supposed to give answers during your interview. But when it comes to recruiter, what are the expectations of the recruiter? What are the expectations of the employer to see whether the candidate is confident or not? Your self-confidence is the most important thing. Then whether you have critical thinking or not. In what way you think? Whether you have vested interest in your thinking, whether you are very emotional and subjective kind of person, or whether you have a scientific temperament, whether you are objective and factual in your analysis. Your thinking ability, your cognitive aspect can be evaluated. Being a self-starter, whether you are self-motivated or not. Most of the pupils are not self-regulator. So it can be seen whether you can have intrinsic motivation or not, because self-starter, self-motivator is the most important thing in working in tense situations. Your self-management. How do you manage yourself? How do you manage your time? How do you manage your relations, your interpersonal relations, your communication, your team management, your leadership attributes? All these points are important in your interview. Your willingness to learn new things. What students assume, as I've done my graduation, as I've done my post-graduation, I don't need to learn again. But in fact, friends, let me open your eyes that our degrees can have expiry date. Whatever knowledge you are gaining during your graduation, post-graduation, that knowledge can be absolute after 5 years. Means our degrees can have expiry date. After 5 years, we need to unlearn and we need to relearn. So friends, learning is the most important thing. Professional etiquettes and professionalism. Whether you have requisite professional traits or not. Because professionalism is the most important thing in working situations. Friends, your adaptability. You need to adapt with new environment, new situation. And this is what the most important thing when it comes to your interview, a winning interview. Your work standards. What kind of work standards you have? Work culture, what kind of work culture you have, that can be evaluated, that can be assessed. Your job motivation, whether you are motivated because of the job profile or not, that can be seen. Your initiation and your analysis, whether the outlook of your initiation and analysis is positive or not. Your leadership and teamwork, whether I always tell that every recruiter looks for leaders, not for the followers. If you are a good reader today, then definitely tomorrow you can be best leader. So friends, enhance your reading, be leader, be intensive in your communication. Definitely then you can be good at your interpersonal and intrapersonal relations, and your knowledge, also your technical and professional, and in what way you are applying that knowledge. That is what your application of your skills. I mean to say your procedural knowledge. Then the sensitivity, how sensitive to your community you are. Your ability to learn, relearn. Your ability to unlearn, relearn, and learn. Your appearance. Most of the times we never care about our dressing. Dressing is the most important one. It must be suitable to your job profile, your communication skills. And that is what the lacune of most of the students. The students coming from vernacular medium, they may have sound knowledge, but they fail to convey that knowledge in a convincing way. So friends, you have to work on communication skills during your student tenureship. The planning and organization of your knowledge. In what way you have planned your knowledge. in what way you have organized your knowledge. These things are also important one. And in what way you are planning your job profile. After the next 5 years, next 10 years, where you will look at yourself. That is also most important thing. Your customer service orientation. What is your approach towards your customer, towards the problems of customer? This is also a crucial important aspect of winning interview. And typical targeted questions also you need to focus on. So friends, in this interview, we have explored each and every corner of the interview. We have started from the terminology or the concept of interview. In my first or earlier video, we talked about different kinds of questions, types of questions. We talked about the role of nonverbal communication in interview. We talked about different types of interview. We talked about your verbal and nonverbal communication during interview. We talked about two major styles of interview, BJI and TJI. We talked about in what way to answer during communication. We also talked about what recruiter looks for, what recruiter aspires to have the qualities in potential employee. All these things we have explored. So friends, if you have any doubts, if you have any difficulties, or if you want to enhance your more knowledge, then you can go through the references, and your doubts and your difficulties you can post through the dialogue of this video. So thank you once again, friends. Thank you for your motivation, your support to my YouTube videos. Thank you once again, friends.